Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Magandang hapon po sa inyo. And of course, to our distinguished colleagues, magandang hapon. My cordial greetings on the celebration of National Children's Month. The observance of the National Children's Month is an opportune time to amplify the discussion on the developments as well as the challenges in fulfilling our common goal of advancing the rights of children. In this regard, Mr. Speaker, I rise on a collective privilege to spotlight the issue of adolescent pregnancy and contribute to the call for no more children having children. Mr. Speaker, esteemed colleagues, adolescent pregnancy remains among the most serious concerns with majority of Filipinos, referring to it as the most important problem for Filipino women today. As revealed in a 2020 survey of the social weather stations, a 2019 Save the Children Childhood Report cites that adolescent pregnancy affects 5.99% of Filipino girls, which is the second highest rate in Southeast Asia and still increasing. According to the 2022 National Demographic and Health Survey, 5% of Filipino women aged 15 to 19 began childbearing. While this is an improvement from 9% in 2017, it is important to take note that according to civil registry data, pregnancy among girls 10 to 14 years old is increasing. The number of births among very young adolescents or girls aged 10 to 14 is likewise troubling. In 2019, there were 2,411 births among very young adolescents. This figure doubled in just over a decade, from 1,116 births in 2008. These children are not even officially considered women of reproductive age. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I emphasized that early and unintended pregnancy has lifelong serious consequences and adds to intergenerational costs that reduce not only the girl or a woman's quality of life, but even their child and the family's quality of life. In terms of promoting the rights of children and the youth in general, the Constitution provides in Article 2, Section 13, that the state recognizes the vital role of the youth in nation building and shall promote and protect their physical, moral, spiritual, intellectual, and social well-being. It shall inculcate in the youth patriotism and nationalism and encourage their involvement in public and civic affairs. At the global level, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child grants the basic human rights that children everywhere have the right to survival, to develop, to protection from any form of harm, abuse, and exploitation, and the right to fully participate. Similarly, the 1995 Beijing Platform for Action on the Girl Child further cemented the rights of the girl child by underscoring the importance of tackling discrimination against women at the earliest stage of their lives. With the alarming cases of adolescent pregnancy at the domestic level, Executive Order Number 141, Series of 2021, mandates government agencies to respond to the situation as an urgent national priority. Executive Order 141 cites that the state acknowledges that what causes teen pregnancy is engendered patterns of discrimination, deep-seated norms, and attitudes that normalize and justify violence against women and children. The lack of information and education, and the vulnerability and exclusion of women and children living in remote and rural areas. The state also recognizes that it must carefully coordinate, rationalize, monitor, and assess the efforts of concerned government agencies in reducing the number of young girls giving birth. Given the national and international policies, it is unfortunate to know that early and unintended pregnancy continues to be a concern for Filipino children, particularly girls aged 10 to 14 years old. It is without doubt that women and girls who experience unintended pregnancies direly endure its consequences. When a girl gets pregnant, her life changes drastically. Early pregnancy has serious repercussions that affects a girl's emotional, physical, and mental health, her education, development, chances for a bright future, and even her social and economic participation. If we look beneath the surface of these consequences, we will realize that the impacts are greater than we imagine. Adolescent pregnancy also has far-reaching ramifications to families, communities, and nations. While we acknowledge the recent progress seen through the decreasing trend in registered births in the country, we must remember the challenges that remain and the work ahead of us in curbing adolescent pregnancy. Mr. Speaker, and my dear colleagues, in addressing the root cause of unwanted adolescent pregnancies, we must intensify our institutions towards eliminating sexual violence, abuse, and gender-based discrimination. Our youth social development program should also provide knowledge to avoid high-risk behaviors such as early sexual activity. We exigently need a comprehensive adolescent pregnancy prevention program, including early intervention mechanisms and a complementary information education campaign that is nationwide, truly inclusive, and focused on the issue. To lead this undertaking, policy-making and implementing bodies would also be necessarily created, which would require collaboration among public agencies at different levels and partnerships with civil society organizations. As legislators, one of the concrete efforts we must take in this 19th Congress is to act on the adolescent pregnancy prevention bills with high urgency. We need a law focused on addressing adolescent pregnancies that will devote programs and resources and institutionalize social protection for adolescent parents. Should we embrace these tasks ahead of us, it would create an enabling environment where girls and young women would thrive, live a dignified life, and fully attain their rights. The time is more than ripe for the Congress to propel a future of no more children having children. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, distinguished colleagues. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.